So, Anthem is officially out now after I think the 3rd release date. This is finally the one that I guess counts. I've since downloaded the day 1 patch, and as you'll see in some of the footage in the background, the problems have only continued for me, with the game at one point quite literally destabilizing on me. Now, if you did watch my last video on Anthem or have followed me on Twitter, which I highly recommend you do so, my personal feeling on Anthem is it's just alright, which for a studio like BioWare, that's extremely disappointing. I've continued playing the game, and I will note that many of the core issues that I've had with Anthem have become more apparent, which includes the cheesy story, boring open world design, repetitive mission structure, and so on and so forth. Now, even with that said, I don't hate Anthem by any means, but I certainly see that it is a flawed game that many will like and many will not. I definitely see this game as potentially improving with time, but right now it's not great. Something that I found very interesting is that many reviewers feel the same way about Anthem, which is why the game currently holds a 60 out of 100 on OpenCritic based off of 43 reviews, and I believe the same score is on Metacritic with a 60. But for comparison's sake, if this score stays the same, which I don't see it drastically changing, Anthem will have a worse critic review score than Mass Effect Andromeda, which on OpenCritic based off of 173 reviews, the game has a 72 out of 100. Honestly, I have to say I am shocked by that because I do think Anthem is a more enjoyable game than Mass Effect Andromeda, which in my opinion was it was a mess.
Alright, what happened?
To who?
To whom? And your goddamn father. Sorry, my face is tired.
Also, I feel very soon we're going to have questions about the future of BioWare. First, there's a clear quality issue because we all know that the BioWare that made games like Mass Effect, KOTOR, Dragon Age, Jade Empire, and Baldur's Gate is not the same as today. Modern BioWare is made up of different people, and quite frankly, the last 2 games, Mass Effect Andromeda and now Anthem, have really been divisive in opinion. Now, another question revolving around BioWare is how Electronic Arts may react to low critic scores and potentially underwhelming sales. With Mass Effect Andromeda, which endured a troubled development at BioWare Montreal, we saw how EA reacted, which was ultimately canceling long-term support for that game and shutting down the studio. We also have seen this numerous times with Electronic Arts in the past, most recently with Visceral Games, who for the last few years before 2017 had struggled with mediocre games like Battlefield Hardline that it didn't work. Visceral Games was never able to make enough money for EA or fit into their games as a service movement, which ultimately led to that studio being shut down, and their Star Wars project, which was a linear Uncharted-like adventure, cancelled, and I guess we'll never see what happens for the future of the Dead Space franchise with the original team. Now with BioWare, we're seeing their A-team, which is located in Edmonton, and also I guess Austin's been working on the game, face similar issues that Visceral and BioWare's B-team, Montreal, faced. So I just don't really know what happens next. From my understanding, some BioWare employees in Edmonton have had concerns that the studio could get an axe if Anthem fails, and I guess we'll just have to see what sales numbers are like when they are revealed soon. Electronic Arts revealed recently that they had hoped for 5 to 6 million copies of Anthem to be sold before the end of March. With this being a new franchise, having fierce competition from multiple other games like Metro Exodus and Far Cry New Dawn, as well as The Division 2 coming very soon, as well as a complicated and dumb release schedule, tons of technical issues which drew negative impressions during the beta, demo, and now negative reviews for the full game, I do wonder how this will translate to sales. Looking at some of the reviews for Anthem, the top score right now is coming from Rectify Gaming, who gave the game a 83 out of 100, saying, "Anthem is a great new start for BioWare, a lore-rich co-op RPG with a fantastic combat engine and visuals to match. It's some of the most fun I've had playing with my friends in a long time, and if you have the chance, give it a shot with your crew. Average gunplay and a lack of visual customization don't prevent Anthem from being a great time. The real test will be if BioWare can keep up the cadence of delivering content on a frequent basis to keep the player base moving forward and prevent it from becoming stagnant. They have already laid out an extensive roadmap, but the launch day Anthem experience is fully featured and has a ton of content to get through. Strong alone, strong together, Anthem is a fantastic action RPG experience for solo players or groups. Don't miss it." IGN gave the game a 65 out of 100, saying Anthem has energetic combat, but it saves too much of what precious little content it has for the endgame, making playing through its mismatched story a tediously repetitive grind. GameSpot a 60 out of 100, saying BioWare BioWare's Anthem has good ideas, but most of those ideas don't end up working well together. So far, the most critical review coming from The Guardian, who says, "But even where it is strongest, Anthem rarely stretches beyond the derivative. The combat, while well designed, is little more than Gears of War with jetpacks, and narratively, it veers between inconsequential and downright irritating. This Anthem is sadly a tedious and conservative dirge that we've all heard before." Ouch. As I said earlier, my takeaway from scores like this is that Anthem is divisive, and the overall score of a 60 out of 100, in my opinion, is lower than I imagined, but I definitely am not shocked by it. The only thing shocking to me is that Mass Effect Andromeda received better scores than Anthem. Now, another interesting fact is that based solely on OpenCritic, 38% of critics gave a review recommending Mass Effect Andromeda, while only 11% so far have recommended Anthem. BioWare's Mark Dara last year had actually said he believes Zelda Breath of the Wild and the other RPGs that launched near Mass Effect Andromeda, I believe Horizon Zero Dawn is one of them, was why it received a low average score of 72 out of 100. He believed the score would have been closer to an 80 had it launched away from games like Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Horizon Zero Dawn, I guess. Which, I mean, I can only wonder what his reaction will be to the aggregate review score of Anthem, which currently is a 60. Now, for BioWare as a company, it looks like they're actually poking fun at the review score indirectly, or many believe Electronic Arts is once again mocking criticism. We saw that a few months ago with Battlefield 5, where DICE held a launch party for the game and made a visual that simply mocked all the hate that had been thrown their way. Like, for example, the hashtag #NotMyBattlefield many fans used against DICE often was changed to hashtag Everyone's Battlefield, and around that hashtag there was various hate comments that were posted often on the Battlefield 5 trailers and gameplay. In all honesty, Battlefield 5 was hurt by things like this visual. Say what you want, but the EA exec giving players an ultimatum to buy it or not, and this all contributed to a negative opinion of the game that lingered over it, resulting in EA's core audience buying other games, leading to that game failing in sales. With BioWare right now, it looks like one developer, or maybe just the company, took it upon themselves to make official Anthem chocolate bars for everyone at the studio, which features a large 62% on them, which I believe is a sad coincidence to the review score, which was at one point at 62%, and has since lowered on both OpenCritic and Metacritic. Some thought this percentage was mocking reviews, but I believe in this case it's just the percentage of cocoa, and yeah, it's kind of sad. Now, speaking of negative press attention, there's also a very weird situation going on with a reviewer who was blacklisted by EA and forced to take down the review of Anthem. YouTuber GGGManLives uploaded a very honest negative review of Anthem, but apparently based off of what EA is claiming, he was paid by them for that review. He's not blacklisted, and the sole problem was that he did not properly reveal that the video was sponsored content. The YouTuber in question claims he was asked to take the video down because it was too negative, and he did state to VG247 he was being paid to review Anthem, which, I'm going to be honest, I'm not a fan of any YouTuber or website getting paid to review a game. Luckily, this YouTuber was honest with his opinion, but it makes me wonder, was EA thinking because he was being paid and a part of the Game Changer program, he would give a more positive review? Something about this situation doesn't really add up, and had he gave a glowing review, I have sincere doubts he would have been asked to take his video down in the first place. Either way, as a content creator myself, I've always felt that some influencers get a little too close to publishers, which makes me wonder if their opinions are swayed because of all the benefits and money said publisher is offering. I've heard stories from other individuals working in this gaming industry that some publishers have offered thousands of dollars for a positive review without disclosing said review with sponsored content. So yeah, some creators will say how it is, and others will take the money, which is unfortunate. But to the last part of this video, I briefly wanted to discuss more mass layoffs happening in gaming. Last week we discussed how Activision Blizzard had fired 8% of its workforce, which equaled up to around 800 jobs being lost, and this week the layoffs in gaming only continued. First, Kotaku reported on Thursday that ArenaNet, developer behind Guild Wars 2, is planning to fire many employees, and later in that same day it was again reported by Kotaku Australia that EA Australia was preparing for mass layoffs. EA's Melbourne studio Fire Monkeys, which was created in 2012 after EA merged Iron Monkey Studios and Firemint, has been mainly used for mobile game development. Kotaku Australia goes on to report that the studio was developing Real Racing 4, although it's understood that that project was officially cancelled earlier this week. Following that decision, executives from Electronic Arts had flown in from overseas to effect wholesale changes across the studio. Those decisions included the cancellation of Real Racing 4 and a reorganization of staff across the titles currently under their management, which includes The Sims Mobile. The Australian chapter of Game Workers Unite said the suspected job losses was around 40 to 50 developers, which is said to be equivalent to nearly 10% of the entire Australian game development industry. One employee told Kotaku Australia the current atmosphere is so grim the remaining staff are operating under the assumption the whole studio will eventually be shut down. No idea how certain tasks will be done at all if I look at who got let go, they said. Which, I mean, this is just another sad day in gaming, which many developers losing jobs to a company that is making billions and billions of dollars in profit. Say what you want, whether you're for or against unionization, things like this, which I swear are all too common, just strengthen the movement growing in gaming for unionization. Oh, and Electronic Arts' only public statement on these layoffs is pretty much they're going to help these employees as much as possible, just, not being with the company. We recently made a decision to shift teams to focus more on our live services, and have entered into a consultation period that may impact some roles in the studio, which if EA cared so much about these devs, they wouldn't have fired them. They also circled around really even addressing these layoffs, but at the end of the day, if a game developing company within Activision or Electronic Arts is not making enough money, just know the way that they're first going to be cutting costs is by getting rid of employees. But in conclusion, with BioWare, I really don't know what the future of this studio will be. Could the end be near? I mean, this is Electronic Arts, who has a reputation of killing studios. They quite simply are the Grim Reapers of gaming. Clearly, Anthem needed more development time but was rushed out the door by Electronic Arts. I do think the game has potential to get better with time, but I'm exhausted saying that with every mediocre or bad online game that releases nowadays. There's no excuse for why this game was released the way it was, day one, and the overall review score thankfully reflects what is Anthem. BioWare can pass these scores off as a joke, but I hope they are taking this to heart because for now the glory days are over, and the same way I now view Bethesda game studios with skepticism is how I'll approach a BioWare made game. Obviously, another factor to consider in all of this is how EA wrecks studios. It's why long term I have fears about Respawn Entertainment. Electronic Arts is quick to kill things that are not working or making enough money for them, which is ultimately why they are one of the worst gaming publishers and why I have fears for the future of BioWare and maybe Anthem if it doesn't make enough money. We could see more monetization strategies, which seems to be the answer that all publishers have for games that are underperforming. Anyway, these are just my opinions. Have you played Anthem? Are you enjoying it or not? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. But thank you for watching. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy this video or found any informative value, and make sure to follow my other social media accounts for updates on new videos. Links are always in the description down below. I'm most active on Twitter, giving opinions on news and sometimes reviews that I don't always get into video form, so make sure to follow me over there. Also check out my Discord for all sorts of discussion and conversation on games. And again, thank you for joining. Consider subscribing for more videos like this, and I'll see you later.